Yeah.
Hasn't been vetted. Short thrown in its
What's
hole.
that?
Yeah.
Good evening. Can everyone hear us? Good. Welcome to the Town of McCandless Planning Commission meeting of August 6, 2024. We have at least two items on the agenda. We'll see how that progresses because I think there might be a last minute change, but how do you want to deal with that first one?
Yeah, I mean, we can just basically read it into the record. We were going to have a continuation of the review of the Rachel Carson Eco Village land development application. However, earlier this afternoon, they decided they just wanted to take some more time to work on the comments that they received from the latest review letter. So they are not here this evening. We expect that they'll be back in September, but of course, that's pending, submission of revisions and another review. So,
Okay.
so we can just skip that one. Oh, I should also say we're not on a review deadline because this afternoon they also sent me a review extension agreement over. This would have been the last meeting before our MPC window expires. Now, I mean, I certainly don't think they intend to take until March, but we have a 6-month extension.
Okay.
So
Do we need to officially do anything or just move to item number 2?
I think we're almost fine.
Okay, we're moving to item number 2 on the agenda, which is the review of the rezoning application for lot 1071. It's vacant land on Perry Highway, from SD Special Campus District to RM Moderate Density Residential. The applicant is Grace Wexford, LLC. We have someone to make a presentation. You're on. Please come up and identify yourself.
Good evening. My name's Robert Binding with Scheffler and Company.
Is that on? Can you guys hear?
It is on, and I do not necessarily know how to adjust the volume if it is quiet, so I'm sorry.
I'll try to speak up.
Yeah, please do.
So, the reason I'm here is,
And would you mind telling me?
yeah, B as in boy, EINING. The reason I'm here tonight is to discuss the rezoning of parcel 1071P-72, which is located on Old Perry Highway, north of the Wexford Care Center and south of the Woodhaven Oaks Plan. It's currently, it's an 18.7 acre lot, and it is zoned special district. At least 5.9 acres of it are, and the rest is zoned moderate density neighborhood. And what we're proposing is rezoning all of it to moderate density neighborhood. We've supplied you with 2 exhibits earlier, one showing the existing zoning, another showing what we're proposing.
All right, is it being shown? Go ahead.
It's as simple as that. I think the future use would be to subdivide it, potentially build a townhouse community on it, something of that sort. We've provided also a sketch plan, kind of with a concept of that.
And I'll just give my viewers a little disclaimer at this point. Sketch plans, concept plans that are submitted with the rezoning application we ask for them so that we get an idea of what the intent is in the rezoning. However, they are legally non-binding, and the purpose of a rezoning application review by a municipality is to determine the appropriateness of the requested district rather than the exact plan itself. So if this were to be rezoned, this has not been reviewed for technical feasibility, for zoning, compliance, anything like that. It would still need to go through a land development plan, and there is not a guarantee that this exact plan or this exact development is what would be built if it were to be rezoned. But this is the intent of the developer making the request.
So the only caveat I'd like to add to that is if we could comment on this after we address the rezoning, because I would hate for the developer to walk out of here tonight thinking that they have a concept that doesn't have major issues.
That's fine. I just want to be
Yeah.
clear that our
Yep.
Yes, our decision should be based on.
I would ask if the folks who were on the rezoning task force, whenever that was a year ago, if they have any memory of how and why the space was originally selected to be SD.
Still rates.
Those exact acres or everything around it?
And you can buy ownership.
It was, well, I think for this one, we just basically kept what it was before, so. It may have been either R2 or R3 for these two currently yellow parcels here. That are included in this development concept, but this parcel right here was already zoned institutional. And so because we split institutional into special district and civic district, as you said, this is privately owned, not publicly owned, so it landed in SD. We mostly didn't turn anything that was institutional into something that was not SD or CB.
Okay. So essentially, there's not been much of a change. This is not, what we're seeing is what you guys, what was redone during the rezoning of a year ago was something that had existed prior. We were calling them different things at that
Yes.
time, but it basically existed prior to that time.
Yes,
Okay,
this is most equivalent.
okay. These were most equivalent to what happened prior to the rezoning of a year ago. All right. Other comments from up here on the planning commission as to the rezoning issue and what we would expect from it?
Can you speak to if the rezoning was not approved, how would the developers go about using the land?
I can't speak for the developer, but I think it would not allow us to.
Right, obviously
Yeah.
this concept would be out, but are there other plans that you know of? Okay.
And you say you can't speak for the developer. I'm sorry, your role in all of this is what?
Scheffler is the engineering firm,
Okay,
land development, subdivision.
okay. All right. Mark,
No, I don't, nothing.
Al, I didn't mean to skip you over.
Could you talk a little bit about who Grace Wexford LLC is?
Um, so my client is Larry Dorsch.
I'm sorry.
Larry Dorsch.
Okay.
So it's just one of his company.
And he has done these kind of,
Yeah, he's a local developer.
He has done some, I recognize the name, but what other projects around here has he done? Okay. What other projects?
I think he was involved at the drugstore down on Pine Creek.
Perhaps. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
this is the first time I'm dealing with Larry too, so.
Okay, I recognize the name, but
Walgreens?
yeah, well, he was the developer for Walgreens, I believe, the property.
okay. Really?
RJ, could you pull up the current zoning map? What are the actual present parcels on there? Is that,
So this right here is one,
okay,
this rectangle is one.
okay,
The railroad tie outlined one is the subject of the request.
The blue one, the entire blue one,
Yes,
okay.
and now that you can see, like, there's the thick line where.
Yeah, inside the thick line.
Right. Right, this down here is not part of the request, that's, I think,
The Wexford rehab.
Oh, okay, so the southern portion of that blue is not part of the reason.
This thick line is the boundary of the proposed project, and this parcel that they have the little dot going to. This is the subject of it.
isn't the southern portion of that where that AGH or AHM medical?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is basically the vacant.
Okay,
so that bolded black outline does not exist presently as a discrete tax parcel.
Correct. Presumably, these lots will be consolidated.
Yeah, it looks like they've got on the concept plan. See where these, perhaps the line three would be the proposed
Wow.
subdivision. I mean, it looks like they, depending on whether they intend to do it feasible or, a rental. I assume that would depend on whether they-
Right at the mic. Oh, you're
Uh,
behind the mic.
And I know you said this, but if I'm reading it, or looking at it correctly, there's something like 63. Is that about how many units?
63 units.
Okay,
Again, this is just a
I understand.
concept. Can change tremendously.
I understand.
Way does work, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, what is before us today is the potential.
Right.
But the potential uses that are available for development are single family, two family, town.
Granted. Any more on this, Al?
I know it's hard to talk about this when you have some other issues that you're starting to think about. For example, the increase in traffic to this particular area, the stormwater management. So can you even address any of that at this point or no?
That would be part of the land development. So we have not performed any engineering, so to speak. At this point, because if it's not rezoned, it's not worth spending the money.
Yeah,
right.
To do that.
Can you go back to the current zone? The blue parcel that you're requesting, zoning amendment for, how many acres is it?
It's 5.9 acres,
And how many acres are the other parcels that are currently zoned in the RM district?
12.8.
That big rectangular presently residential zoning parcel have any frontage?
Can you say again?
The big one that's residential, does it have frontage on anything?
No.
No, I think it backs up into the plan that's off of, I don't forget the name of the street.
Woodhaven?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that they
Currently.
created, yeah,
Yeah. It's all one,
but
Parcel.
right now, on
Right.
its own. It doesn't.
On its own.
it's a valid lot overall because it has
It's just,
access from
it's just,
Cherry Highway.
it's just odd because it's zoned two different.
Yeah.
Things.
Wait, I'm confused.
It-
The big orange one furthest east, yeah. That's its own parcel,
Yes.
so it does not in and of itself have any road frontage anyway,
As currently.
as
yeah,
current,
that's
right,
correct.
Yeah.
as we sit here today.
But it's in the same ownership, is it not?
Now it is?
Yeah.
I'm under the impression that the applicant is either under agreement or owns these three parcels now, but that was maybe not the case prior.
I'm sorry, which three? The left of the two oranges. The triangular looking orange is one of the properties that he owns.
That's my.
Correct.
Okay.
Everything in the bold black outline is owned by the same
Okay,
developer.
It is owned by him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, at least that's what the rezoning exhibit submitted says.
Shelley, comments?
It all to me as if this parcel was always or could have always been already in the low moderate density neighborhoods, except for the fact maybe that it was already zoned institutional and full zoning.
Yeah.
And it happened to be next to a commercial institutional type.
I think that they owned it previously and may have sold it. Please don't take that as the gospel. But that's my impression is it was.
Yeah, it might have
They
been
owned
bought
all of
that
it.
way with
Yeah.
anticipation of expanding
Right.
the commercial or the institutional property. Um. No, I don't. Issue.
And
The perspective of just overall planning for the town to have that 5.9 acres in the middle of the development in the same zoning district. As we said, the only reason why it isn't now is because of ownership. Is a logical thing.
with the caveat that's been said several times already, is it how it gets developed, if it were to be rezoned, how it gets developed it's a new ballgame. And we'll have to come before us and others to figure that out.
Correct, and we'd be
Okay.
willing to work with you on that.
Yeah, and I'll actually add, because we have been talking a bit about the old zoning, let me just pull this up really quick. So. This is our old zoning map. The teal color is what was institutional. The medium blue, I'll call it, was townhomes and apartments. And the light blue was single family duplex. So this, it looks like these handful of parcels up here. Which may be part of this request, or maybe.
They're not. They're separate.
RJ, what's on the right, the gray? That
Lives
was,
here,
that-
yeah, that used to be, that was R2, so it was single family and duplex,
Which is now the,
right?
Yeah.
RM.
Essentially the same zone.
yes,
Yeah,
It's a new name.
right.
okay,
Back to current times.
Mr. Chairman, one of the things we should look at is the types of uses that are permitted in the special district. And whether or not they would be appropriate uses in between two residentially zoned parcels in addition to the adjoining residentially owned parcels. There's substantially more, potentially more intensive development than residential development.
I've got them here.
Yeah.
Do that.
It's easier than going all the way.
Normally I just have these up. but I can do that. One second.
Does not this, if the rezoning goes through, does not this pretty much squeeze out any other special district property here? Because you have St. Alexis to the north of that, then you have AGN, and there's no other. All the rest is either low density or RM, so there's not any potential special district property that would be left in this. Is that correct?
St. Alexis is pretty far north,
But isn't that what that blue is on the top of this?
It's on the curve.
Because when you come up that,
yes, that way
yeah,
up.
that's St. Alexis
Yes.
property right there.
Yeah.
Right.
They have a big chunk of vacant land off of Rhineman, not that I know whether they intend to ever do anything with that, but, all the way from Old Perry to Rhineman, that's all, St. Alexis's property, and it is zoned SD right now. Let me get to our.
Considering they just built a new church, I don't think that's.
Where are you going with that? I'm not sure that I understand.
Well, you were asking about how this would fit in with when you had special districts and the difference. I'm just wondering if this gets rezoned in there, there's not any more special district property left other than what St. Alexis has
Doesn't this remain special?
on that side.
The town though, are-
Oh, yeah, I'm just talking about this particular, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
that's what it's-
yeah, it's just this particular.
but doesn't the property below the dark line remain special district?
Yes.
Yeah, that does.
So that's
That's
right.
the AGN facility,
Yeah.
Right, okay.
but it squeezes out any other potential special, institutional development other than if St. Alexis ever decided to do anything.
Yeah, I mean,
In the-
what I'll say is that historically, I'm not under the impression that the town chose what was the former institutional district zoning for any reason other than somebody that was an institution owned the property rather than intentional owning of such. But here is the civic and institutional uses section of our use chart. I just did a quick little look around. The other sections, and other than child daycare being permitted under the service uses, pretty much all of the permitted uses of the special district are going to be in this chart. So assembly is an umbrella category that's like theater, gym, event space, things where people are gathering, basically, and whether it's neighborhood or general just depends on the size of the facility. I think everything on here is pretty self-explanatory, otherwise, but these are what are currently the options.
Actually, I think that residential retains more of the integrity of that general area. And the special districts just happen to have a manner.
Yeah.
Well, and it provides a better buffer to the residential behind it rather than the more intensive uses.
Like a transportation facility would be permitted in a special district. Which would be potentially.
Oh, are you looking at the infrastructure sector?
Yeah, there are other uses, and one of them is oil and gas development as a conditional use.
There's a conditional use.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then,
that would be industrial.
yes,
So that's the only industrial.
right,
Conditional use, but, how will that work? Questionable. However, the infrastructure one is a good one to pull up as well. A lot of these are just utility-like things, like, for example, the communications antenna near the tower. Those are permitted pretty much everywhere if you do it right. Parking as a principal use is something like parking room. Seems unlikely, but it's in the table. Principal solar energy system, that is a solar farm. And then public utility buildings, transportation facility would be like a bus depot or a parking lot, something like that.
forestry operation.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to look up there. But that's a different can of worms.
Well, there's certainly residential all around this. That's a given, except the senior care facility and the Berkshire Hathaway.
Well, it's
Building.
commercial on the front. so
Right.
Business.
So. My personal opinion is that the main reason this hasn't been developed is because of the topography. It's a pretty
It's a challenge.
steep piece of property. And that will be, I think, the biggest challenge for you and others. As to whether, if this gets rezoned, as to whether that can be done in such a way as
I don't
to
disagree with you.
be consistent with all the surrounding areas and
Mhm.
all of the things that go along with that. So. Other comments? Do we know enough to pull up a vote to see whether this rezoning makes sense?
We don't have to do.
Public comment.
Oh, that's right. There's a few publics.
Yeah.
I knew you weren't here just to see us, so. Let's do that and open this up for public comment. Thank you.
The friendly reminder for anybody speaking, we have a 5-minute time limit.
And just identify yourself and
Sure,
be as succinct as you can.
of course. My name is Richard Pauly. I live in the Woodhaven Oaks area.
Okay, Richard,
Pauly, Polley,
and your address, please.
9918 Conestoga Court.
Very much.
And I've been a resident up there since 1988. I think what we have here is what I would refer to as a latent bait and switch. When the nursing home was put in, it would not have been able to be put in unless it was a special district or the special district type of zoning. And it's interesting to note the special district is established to support institutional uses, including education, hospital campuses, and that function as unique missions. And there's going to be lawns and painted areas and park areas are encouraged. What we have here now is 50 years later, they're trying to wipe out what would be a nice area back there if it was developed properly and put in townhomes. As you said, 63 townhomes, which will be very disruptive to the neighborhood and everyone around. It's important, someone mentioned about the traffic issue. Could you put one of the maps that he had up on the screen again?
Like
The
concept plan or zoning?
The zoning map. It's interesting to note that when they put, and you can flip to the concept too. Could you go to the concept? Because I think that would show it better. Now go back to the other one. The problem is where you enter and exit the development. It is going to wreak havoc. If you're familiar with Old Perry Highway, it's a very small roadway. At the one end on McKnight Road, there's 5 roads coming in. It's always a place of backed up traffic. There's accidents. At the top above St. Aidan's, it's very dangerous getting out. It's always backed up when church is in, when church gets let out. This is just not an area that would be conducive to changing the zoning to allow them to put these townhomes in. And you can see what happened here. They bought property that was boxed in that they couldn't develop, and they've bought it one step at a time to try to come now to you and say, well, you have to change this so that we can build these condos in here. The other thing that I think is important, as a longtime resident on the side of McKnight Road that we are on here, for years, the other side of McKnight Road, the values of the homes were very valuable. They were always higher than our homes on our side. It's only been over the last several years that the value of those homes have gone up, and we're very thankful of that, and we're very thankful for everything that the zoning board has done to keep it that way. By putting these townhomes in, we are concerned that this will bring down the value of our homes that we've lived in and worked at for so long. At a minimum, we would ask that any decision be delayed until a traffic study is done, so you can actually see what effect rezoning will do if it's changed to this. And like I said, I do want to emphasize, there'd be no reason for that all to be special district if it wasn't for them putting in the nursing home at the time. I wasn't there, so I can't swear that that's why it was like that, but it just makes common sense that it was special district, was going to be a nice little development of the nursing home there, certainly not 63 townhomes, and would ask that you not approve the change in the zoning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I see that we had a couple people come in midway, so I just want to reiterate. Engineered plans are not submitted for rezoning requests. The applicant does not have to engineer something because there's no guarantee that they get the rezoning. And concept plans are non-binding, so we're not going to see traffic reports in this process because the applicant cannot actually guarantee that this gets built the way that they're proposing it. So I just want that out there for public information of how the process.
Or is it necessarily 63 units that it be?
Right, we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
It's
Understood, but I think it should at least be considered as to what they're planning to do. I don't think you can turn a blind eye as to what they're trying to accomplish here. That's all I would ask, that you at least consider that.
Dan, I know that you're not a traffic specialist, but since this is coming off of not too far from a PennDOT road, is this close enough that it would trigger a study of the light there? Or is it too far down the road if it were to be developed?
If it were to be developed, it would require an agreement with the town's traffic engineer and PennDOT and the developer on what intersections need studied. But given the complexity here, I would expect a lot of intersections to be studied.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's PennDOT's right away at the end of the.
Yes. Yeah.
So at least we can tell that at this point, that there would certainly have to be some level of both local and state review before anything could be approved here.
My name is Dennis Rupert. I live on Linden Road, which is on the other side of 19, but it's part of Ward 2. 10475 Linden.
Thank you.
I came here tonight hoping to find out who exactly Grace Wexford LLC was. And now I have a better understanding of who they are. Is it Keller Corporation?
That's great, yes.
Okay, so why the subterfuge? Why the subterfuge? I looked online for Grace Wexford LLC. And what do I find? I find a PO box. That's it.
Okay.
No, I'm speaking. I'll take my 5 minutes.
Okay, but you're
Okay.
speaking to us. You're
Okay.
speaking to us.
The business records search show an address of Broadway Avenue in McKees Ross for Grace Wexford LLC. There's no indication as to how they can be contacted, what their phone number is, if they have a website, if they have any internet presence at all, who the corporate officers are. I'm taking Kellar's word for it that the real estate development experience of Grace Wexford LLC is really Kellar. And I suppose we can go online and look and see what their development projects have been that have been completed. I would recommend that you also go online and do a thorough search of the principal and the company. I would like to know at this point, why they haven't decided to post anything about this online. And I would encourage the planning commission, even though that's not policy, I would encourage the planning commission to post all documents that they have that have been submitted by Grace Wexford LLC, that they be posted online. The two other issues on the development of this potential development of this property. One, I'm surprised nobody brought up MTSA and what the impact would be of any development based on the impact on MTSA. The property sits not too far from Pine Creek. That should also enter into any considerations that you have as to what is happening with this piece of property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really do not respond to every public comment, and I'm sorry that I've done it twice in a row, but since a lot of us are. You can put your hand down, the presentation from the developer is already concluded. Since we have a lot of folks that probably are just here for the first time, I just want to make sure for transparency that we understand how this process flows, why things happen at certain times. I'm sure that some of you are probably adjacent property owners, which means your property actually borders. And is, the property that is subject to the request. So the planning commission is an advisory body to town council on requests like this. This body does not have approving power. They get to make a recommendation to town council as to the planning perspective of what they think is appropriate or not in an application like this. The public hearing in which an official record is created and an official decision is made by town council occurs at that body, and it can only occur after this group gets the chance to make a recommendation planning wise. So at the time that the public hearing comes to town council, which at this time I expect will be at the end of September. There will be legal notices that will go out to every adjacent property owner. The property will be posted with a sign on the actual property. There will be ads placed in the newspaper with the date, time, location, name of the zoning district they're requesting the change to. And we will have all of the public hearing documents online. There's a page on our website called Proposed Ordinances and Public Hearings. And that is where you can find all of those things. So I would expect that once it gets out of the planning commission, I'd have to place the ad by the end of this month to get it on the September town council agenda. So that is probably when all of those legal notices will start to go out, just so everyone knows.
Good.
Hopefully I'm gonna stop talking now. Please, whoever.
But we'd like it not to get out of your committee, and we'd like it to be putting the rest here.
These are procedures that we have
Yeah.
to follow by state law.
Yeah.
We are required to review this.
Yeah, we are not the final say. That's just the way it is. I wish, in some cases, I wish we were, in many cases, I'm glad we're not. So,
The recommendation.
But hey, yeah,
we do.
yeah, but just to be clear, whether it's approved or denied, it still goes to town council, just with
Right,
that
yeah.
recommendation.
Please feel free to call me at the planning office if you have any questions about procedure or if you want to see the document ahead of the public.
Other comments?
Thanks for the procedural stuff. My name is Jason Agostoni. That's Agostoni. It's a challenge for everyone, so I always spell it. And I live on 9840 Covered Wagon Court, most definitely one of the bordering properties, right? So it's just a brief comment. One of the, I mentioned, so I think it was you that mentioned that rezoning could be a potential buffer against development for the purposes of the residential area, since it would all be residential versus institutional residential. However, our intent is to use the fact that it is currently institutional as that buffer against development. So that, that kind of counteracts that particular recommendation. That's the only comment we have. We want to keep the character, just like everyone would want to do in their neighborhood. We want to keep the character the way it is. So when considering it as a buffer, the mixed zone usage actually is, I think, a very effective buffer against current development. Thank you. That's all I needed.
Thank you. Any others?
Thank you. My name is Eric Treater, 9864 West Moccasin. I am in the neighborhood Woodhaven Oaks. Sure. Treater, Treater. West Moccasin in the Woodhaven Oaks plan. 9864. Ready? So many of us have bought in the area because there's a good balance between residential, commercial, and some green space. We don't really want that area to be rezoned. Because what I'd like to see is somebody to go back. You guys have mentioned nobody knows why it was zoned the way it is. I think there should be some more effort into figuring out. So there had to have been a committee just like you guys 50 years ago, 70 years ago, determined why that was zoned the way it is. Let's try to figure out why before we worry about changing it.
I guarantee it was just based on that. I had to pour over all these.
Yeah.
And it was already in that use, the parcel, so that's why.
Okay, well, thank you.
But it's a fair question.
My name's Elizabeth Sowa, Sowa. I live at 9849 Covered Wagon Court. Obviously, my property does butt up right against it. And it's just more of a comment with that green space and kind of what Eric was saying, that you were talking about the topography. I go down there all the time. It is trees, there's a steep drop off, little landing, another steep drop off. It is majorly a lot of swamp. There's little creeks that run all the way through it. I'm just worried if it was to get developed, you're ruining the environmental impacts back there. There's a lot of different wildlife that goes back there that lives. I know we have hummingbirds, monarchs that are sometimes back there, just different wildlife. And so I think it's just something to consider also, that if it is attempted to be rezoned in that way, that and that development, it could just become an issue as well. And, you know, we are here to protect the environment for our kids. So that's something I'd like to see too.
Thank you. Any others?
Hi, good evening. My name is Jeff Smith. I live at 9880 Newhart, which is the road that goes straight up Newhart Boulevard that's adjacent to this proposal. One thing I'd just like everyone to consider is that, you know, the things that made McCandless and this town so nice are the little pockets of green spaces. And over the last 15 years or so, we're slowly seeing some of the things that made this area so special turn into townhomes, strip malls. We're losing some of the aesthetic that I think that made McCandless what it is. And my concern is just exactly that. That area is kind of special, and that green space is special. And without, you know, really good consideration of what the impacts are going to be to the citizens, I just hope that you guys take that into consideration. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? We don't have anybody on the line. Okay.
Well, you guys have two options. One is we always schedule it so you get at least 2 months of crack at it. Or you can choose to vote at this meeting. It is two.
Well, I'd almost like to know what the rest of the planning commission thinks about whether we think we know enough to even make a vote tonight to rezone it, or whether we can think about it, see more information to the extent any of it comes in, get better information, and do it in the next planning commission meeting. Any thoughts?
Well, I would like to have a little bit more information. I understand the issue of this little piece of special district being in surrounded, but I have other questions regarding the development of this thing, and I know we're not addressing the development, but I would like to be able to think about this a little more and not put a vote on it tonight, but
So my comment is in listening to all the presentation and all the comments that, you know, first, I think if we're going to rezone a parcel, the onus is on the applicant to define why it needs to be rezoned. Personally, at this point, without, you know, I don't know that we can request any additional information based on what this is, which is just a rezoning request. But I have not been persuaded that parcel needs to be rezoned and that's in the best interest of the community. Two, although we're not reviewing the actual proposal, I have significant concerns about what they plan to do with those three parcels, or when they combine it into one parcel, that would be in the best interest, and that's not even feasible. And then third, you know, the local residents, what their feedback is on our actions is important to me, and, you know, pretty loud and clear that they do not want that parcel rezoned. So for all three of those reasons, if we did take a vote, my vote would be no today.
Similar, if we had to vote, I see no compelling case to rezone it. I think it's important that we did get such participation from the impacted residents. The Wexford Health Center up there, or the care center, not here represented, I would be interested if they had the opportunity or what their thoughts were on that, as they would be impacted by that.
Wexford Terrace Limited, is that the care center?
The healthcare center, that's it.
It's
I can figure out fairly quickly whether they sold this property to them.
Okay. I think that's part of the due diligence, understanding the nature of the request. So that's how I feel.
And Dan, just as a further, if we do take a vote tonight, I would vote not to rezone this.
Brendan?
It's different. I'm sorry, but it is a different owner name. Wexford Terrace is not the same owner of the parcel. from What I can tell. The care home is currently on. So I'm not sure who Wexford Terrace is, but it is not Pavilion North.
Exactly.
There you go.
I don't like the idea of what's essentially a non-developable lot being that rectangular residential one, which would be contingent on access from somewhere else because it doesn't have any frontage. I think what keeps that area from being developed is the fact that this is a special district in the middle of it. So that creates a buffer on the whole thing. And I don't know at this time how I feel about that. But driving down Perry Highway during this thunderstorm and seeing the massive amount of runoff coming on the ridge onto McKnight Road, and we were assured 10 ways till Sunday, there wouldn't be a drop of water going anywhere. I have a lot of concern about development in that area at the bottom of the hill till we can sort out what's going on over there. So I would like some more time to get information and study what's going on here. So I would be okay with postponing a recommendation until our next meeting.
I do want to say, I don't disagree with anything you said. I just want to say.
I saw it.
I just want to
Fake
say in
news.
fairness that development has just begun and the final stormwater condition of that, like that is. Unfortunately, and something that we're dealing with, but that is runoff coming from a construction site, not from a final developed plan that has functioning stormwater. So, just want to throw that disclaimer out there.
But the stormwater management features during construction should have
Yes.
been doing
Yes.
more than they were
Yeah,
doing
that's controlled.
an hour ago.
We agree with that.
Shelley, any comments?
I'm also sensitive to the feeling of the neighbors. However, and I totally agree with most all of their comments about the concerns about the development of this property. Frankly, I think you'd be concerned about the development of anything here. And I can appreciate that you probably would prefer it to stay as is, but I still think that the use is more residential than commercial special district. I also believe that should this be rezoned, that whoever the developer may be, or whatever they do, is going to have an incredibly difficult time convincing that to build something as they propose. I think that you're absolutely right, that the stormwater management is going to be a huge issue to be overcome, possibly making the project economically not feasible. I just think the place for that discussion sits with the development portion, the plan review for a formal submission. On the other hand, I appreciate what all of my colleagues here have had to say. I really appreciate people coming out and expressing their concerns, many of which I totally share. And I'm more than happy to take additional time to allow all of us to further consider the ramifications.
How would we get additional information?
The ownership, I mean, I'm trying to understand what additional information we might need. So is it ownership? Is there a question? Because I don't know that I'm totally clear on what the ownership is or was, or, you know, but I'm just trying to figure out what additional information for the zoning amendment, agreeing wholeheartedly with what many of you have said. the development standards and the review process that we have for any development, whether it stays in the special district or it is modified to an RM district, they are substantial for any applicant to go through. And in each of those instances, they would have to go through those steps and provide us with the documentation that stormwater would not be an issue, that they wouldn't be removing vegetation to the extent that we ended up with runoff all over the place at any point in time. That there were buffers to the residential, whether it's townhouse development or a more intensive development, which is permitted now, there is a buffer requirement. The bottom line is somebody owns the land. I'm not sure who. And that would be helpful for me to make the final decision, what the ownership is. And they have certain rights under the law to develop that land within the guidelines that the town has put in place for maintaining development so that it doesn't impact adjoining property owners. So the only way that I would not be willing to vote tonight is if there is some added information that the applicant can provide related to ownership and how the parcels interacted in the past and interact.
So a couple thoughts. One being, we can make any requests that we want of the developer. They've met their legal requirement for a complete submission for a rezoning. However, it's up to them. If you guys wanted specific informational requests and they wanna, how they respond to them. Number two is, I believe we now have the developer here. And this might be a more appropriate time for, if you would like to come up and address the planning commission. Have anything to add, any response, or not, you don't have to, but that might be a good opportunity for you guys to talk through what information you might like to see. Your thoughts.
Valid point. Your choice, sir.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Larry Dorsch. I'm with Keller Corporation. I've been in business about 35 years in the North Hills market. We are owner by contract for the property that we are now discussing this evening. Our indication is that we would like to rezone this property to do townhouse units 28 and 24 with the townhomes in this location. And any questions that you would have, I'd be happy to answer.
Concerns, questions? I mean, we basically knew that.
I mean, what else can I ask? What else can I answer?
About your
I mean, this is the zoning application. So we haven't really gotten into.
Well, have you built townhouses before?
Absolutely.
What is the price point?
Price points are gonna be 400,000 and up. We've done townhome developments in Cranberry Township, Swickley Hills, Ohio Township. That's about it. Yeah.
None in McCandless.
No, sir. Jackson Township as well.
So. Right now, you control under contract or own the 2 residentially zoned parcels.
All 3 parcels I have under contract. I do not own them. I have ownership by contract.
Are they the same property owners for all 3?
Yes.
So there's something involved here that I'm missing.
No.
That 5.9 acres is a separate parcel.
5.9 is this one right
The
here.
5.9 is the
It's
blue
subject to
parcel.
But it's a separate parcel right now. There are 3 distinct.
3
zoning
distinct parcels. Yeah.
4
The
distinct.
3 parcels, I believe, one was rezoned a year ago. Is that correct?
This is We discussed.
Oh,
this
the
earlier
zoning
in the meeting.
amendment.
This is when we redid the whole zoning
Right.
ordinance, place the map, and so we used to have a lot more individual residential districts, and so the one up against the road was R3, the one that is the rectangle back was R2. Those have now been condensed into the RM district.
Three different zonings at one point. And I think a year or so ago, you folks rezoned the one parcel, the larger rectangular parcel. The whole 23 acres?
Or the whole town.
Oh, the whole township. Oh, okay. But my point is that now I have the property that I have under contract is now several different zonings, correct?
Two zones, when it was previously.
That's correct. Okay. We're trying to consolidate it into one zone. That's what we're trying to do.
Did you guys have any more specific information?
Has there been an evaluation as we stand here today with the residential and then the special district and then residential on the other side? To develop the residential parts as they are with a roadway linking them through the special district part that would not require a rezoning of the special district tract?
I think to do it economically feasibly, it would require rezoning of the whole parcel to make it work. I mean, financially. Just being real.
Is the topography of the special district parcel any different than the currently zoned residential ones, either?
The currently zoned residential is fairly developable. The special district is challenging.
Of the three, it's the most challenging topography.
I would say, yeah. Very easy to do, but I think it's worthwhile. For my benefit. For being honest,
Sure, well, it's the business you're in.
that's what I do.
Sure, we understand that.
And in terms of that development, just to play on that a little bit further. If the special district topography is the most challenging of them, but understanding that the development has to involve all three parcels in order to be economically viable, then you can make money, which is.
Makes sense.
Does that require the actual development of that special district parcel for residential use? Or just to have it as part of the larger project that already includes residentially zoned tracts where you could build on it residential as is today?
For my purposes, and I'm, not to be selfish, this is what I do for a living. Okay, I've developed over 5,000 apartments in the North Hills market in the last 25 years. Previously, we had an R3 zoning in one of the parcels, which would allow for that. Still then, we thought it made more sense in this location to do a townhouse development. The largest parcel that we're talking about that's currently zoned, for townhomes, the way we see it, makes sense, and we just tried to accumulate everything to make it make sense financially to accumulate all three parcels together. And to make it work, we get 63 lots that we think make sense. Is that the question you're asking me? I'm not sure.
Yeah, to a degree. I was just
Okay.
wondering the extent to which the development needs to potentially have residential use on the SD lot versus connecting one part of residential to another and just remaining.
Yeah, I think it's in the best interest personally, and I think just looking at it as a development opportunity. I think it's less intrusive in this layout.
You know, were we to go back a year from now, a year ago, when it was R3, I mean, you could have 80 to 100 units in the one parcel. You know, given the size of it, if I'm not mistaken. But my point is, I think under the current scenario, it's less intrusive, but still makes sense economically for 63 units plus or minus. Even though it's challenging. It's a great location, it's a great school district, it's a great market, it's a great township. And it would be no problem with 400 plus townhomes in this market. As far as we're concerned.
Done an analysis, a financial analysis.
Yeah.
A break point for you on how many units you would need to have this. Just bear with me for a minute.
Okay.
Because when the town amended its zoning. Was it a year ago? Whatever,
It's a little over a
recently,
year ago. Yeah.
recently, they also amended the subdivision and land development ordinance. And in that land subdivision and land development ordinance, there's a restriction that no road can be dead end cul-de-sac road, can be longer than 800 feet.
I understand.
The road that you proposed is significantly longer.
I agree.
than 800 feet.
I agree.
How are you balancing those two?
We haven't balanced it yet, to be honest with you, but we're looking at having opportunity to create a larger entrance feature to give us, you know, an opportunity to have health and safety issues taken care of, maybe by 3 lanes or what have you as an entrance. We have a couple other things that we're looking at off-site that may make sense, but it all starts with the rezoning. So we think we can get there, or we wouldn't be here. But you know, it's a challenging project. There's no doubt about that. But you know, the market is strong enough that it's worth the effort. That's why we're here. You're welcome. Any other questions?
Kenny? This is more of a comment, and that is, we're in a tough situation. We're being asked, and this is not your problem,
I understand.
this is for the room. We're being asked to make a decision for zoning, not knowing how it's eventually going to shake out.
I agree.
But once it's made, it's made. And so it's very difficult to have that in front of us, which is not much definition. Yet, with that little definition, being asked to make a fairly dramatic change to the area. And my personal opinion is that rezoning is a significant event, should be a significant event for the township, for the town. And I think that the rezoning should benefit the town in its overall effect. So it's a difficult situation for us to vote on something that we don't know what we're voting on.
Ladies and gentlemen, I agree with you. This is not my first dance. I mean, I've been at this 35 years. And, you know, all I can tell you is my thoughts with this parcel is to have a high-end townhouse project that would benefit you from a tax benefit, yeah, and a development benefit, as well as, you know, new neighbors and so forth. So that's what we're in the business to do. So we're happy to help if we can.
And I would add one area to that tax benefit. Fine, everybody's interested in more taxes. There's a livability impact.
I understand.
And
I understand.
The livability impact is something that I think weighs heavily on me, and I think we have to consider that.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what we gain by waiting, but I'm willing to wait to get as much additional information as we can before making a final determination. taking a final vote. I think the 3 or 4 or 5 of us had said that waiting would be something that they would certainly consider.
Well, I would consider it, but I also don't know exactly what piece of information we would.
That
be
you
able
would
to
get that would change your mind.
Right. I mean, I'm not, just on the surface, I'm not opposed to it. I also don't know what would be different next month.
Okay. Any other comments? Well, that brings us to a vote then. Because if we're not gonna gain anything by waiting a month, then we have the opportunity to take that vote now.
So usually what the attorney would tell us is that regardless of whether the person making the motion intends to vote yes or no, that we should make the motion in the affirmative. We just write approve or deny on the agenda, so people don't think we're walking in here to just approve things.
Right.
So whether you were going to vote yes or no, when you make the first motion, you should make it with the approved word. And if you disagree, vote no.
Okay. Even though you include the word deny.
That is just because when we write, I think it's a done deal.
I understand. All right, so I will make a motion to approve the Grace Wexford LLC rezoning application to change the zoning district of the property to RM from SD. That's my motion. Is anyone going to second?
I'll second.
Al's got a second.
Roll call.
Roll call vote. Al,
So,
start with Al.
I'll just keep this short. I think everyone understands all the issues, but I'm a no on this.
John,
I outlined the reasons, but I'm still a no.
okay. Mark,
No.
no. Brendan,
No.
no,
yes.
yes,
Yes.
okay. And I'm gonna base mine on that livability issue. And I think there's a livability issue here and I vote no.
Okay, so the recommendation that will be carried forward to council is essentially a recommendation to deny the motion to approve federal 2 to 5. Again, because of the timelines required for public notice for me to get an ad in the newspaper and hit all of those dates. The August meeting for town council where we would review this is already too late, so we have to go to the September. Tell you all here, September 23rd meeting. That should be on the website, you know, in the paper, whatnot. We'll get it on the website around the end of the month. It should go out in the paper about 2 weeks prior to the public hearing, but that will be the date. So if you all would like to come to town council and have your feelings heard there as well, that will be the time. Same place, starts at 7:30.
And not only if you would like to, I would recommend you do, because again, we are a recommending body. They do not have to take what we say. So if you want your voices heard, you have the town council opportunity to do that.
Can't make it, written comments are accepted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3 on the agenda, the approval of the June 4, 2024 minutes. Any changes, edits, comments to the 2020 June 4 minutes? None? Okay, I move that they be approved. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None, they are approved. And we have an opportunity for general public comments. I'm not sure what it would be about.
Nice.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then we have nothing left to do but adjourn. I make a motion.
Thanks.
Second.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit hard of hearing.